today was the last day of the National Congress of Trade Union Federation COSATU. It has resolved to discuss the future of the alliance with the ANC and the SACP at a special national consultative conference next year. Well, to wrap up the week, we're joined again by Dr Sthembiso Bhengu, who is the director of the Chris Hani Institute. Doctor, thank you for being with us again. We spoke as this Congress kicked off earlier in the week. If anyone thought that the tripartite alliance wasn't in trouble, I guess the heckling of the ANC chair, Gwede Mantashe, this week was a clue. Now, the president of COSATU says that the alliance consultative conference will be next year and it'll confirm the proper vehicle to continue the struggle of the workers. Has the ANC essentially been put on notice here? Doctor, I think you need to... there you are. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. Certainly, this Congress has, I think, this particular resolution on state power has been quite a significant shift. By the way, remember that the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, in his address on Tuesday, did actually state that the ground has shifted. And so we can see now that shift, that indeed the ground has shifted. And indeed, I think it does put notice to the African National Congress, especially the upcoming 55th National Congress, around whether are they able to change what seems to be a new course in the direction of a number of COSATU delegates.
All right. Well, it does seem to support your earlier prediction that this whole question of the tripartite alliance will only be finalized possibly towards the end of next year, going into elections the following year. Now, say workers decide to go it alone, how quickly could the SACP, for example, mobilize for the national elections in 2024?
Well, actually, while the decision is to have a consultative conference next year, there is, by the way, quite a strong view already within some affiliates within COSATU around definitely supporting the South African Communist Party for elections in 2024. And so it does seem that for a significant portion of affiliates, the consultative is only a modality question, but are quite definitive around the view to actually support the South African Communist Party. So what is going to be more, I think, critical is to see how then do they translate that. For instance, we know that the Communist Party, the issues of funding and all of those, and so it's going to be interesting to see whether then do these affiliates and the federation itself begin to then actually put resources to essentially begin this massive move. Already we know that the Communist Party has already declared around building this powerful socialist movement, and so it's going to be critical to see whether they really, how does that translate on the ground, whether does that also bring other federations, other unions, how do they bring all kinds of civil society. So that's all that's going to be quite significant to see, yes.
And we'll have to wait and see if they can attract voters, especially because we know that trade unions themselves are losing the support of workers. So that'll be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. What is going to be more interesting is essentially if the unions themselves, they will make sure that their members actually follow their decision, or the delegates. Obviously, we still remember the example of NUMSA and the Socialist Party in 2019, in how essentially we saw that disjuncture between the union, the members, and what the leadership had chosen, and the total collapse of that. And so I think what is going to be more interesting is whether COSATU and the party are able to amass this left, broad left front, and the building of the socialist movement. If they are able to do that, certainly I think that there'll be more resonance with them.
What are the implications? Well, some would say that now maybe if the tripartite alliance falls apart, the ANC in fact will be more free to follow a more centrist approach. It's always trying to balance sort of private business interests with the left. However, before, COSATU has always endorsed an ANC candidate. Now it's very silent. It's not endorsing President Ramaphosa. Is that a political blow for him, do you think?
It's likely, if indeed this is the direction, that is going to be a blow for the African National Congress, of which COSATU remains the most organized, massive number of people, and so that is going to be quite significant. But we are right, and so it's going to be interesting to see whether then does that see the ANC beginning to move more centrist right in a way, and essentially probably being almost shed itself of so-called left kinds of inclinations and those kind of things.
Doctor, we spoke earlier this week about the lack of support for the national shutdown recently. So that reflected on COSATU and the other trade union federation, SAFTU. You said it was significant that SAFTU's Zwelinzima Vavi attended this COSATU Congress. Do you still think, as we wrap up, that it's really significant in terms of a shift, being that workers' unions are becoming more united as we end the Congress?
I think it is a significant shift. It is by the way, what is significant is that the General Secretary of SAFTU actually was at the COSATU Congress on Monday, on Tuesday, and on Wednesday. So effectively consecutive 3 days of being present. And I think there is something significant, and I suspect that especially if ultimately things turn out that indeed COSATU takes the resolution of around the building of the broader socialist movement through which the Communist Party becomes the head in 2024, chances are very likely that there will be deeper engagements between COSATU, SAFTU, and other federations around probably how they are able to coalesce broader society of workers and other civil society organizations that are more left-centered.
All right, thank you very much, the director of the Chris Hani Institute, Dr Sthembiso Bhengu. And yes, interesting times for the tripartite alliance. COSATU essentially questioning its marriage with the ANC within that alliance, saying that there will be a special consultative conference next year to discuss the tripartite alliance, which we may be talking about in past terms by the end of next year, and that'll be significant for the elections to be held in 2024.